Let me get to a somewhat tough area. There's a lot of conversation on this. Some of it, as in the case of most subjects, is uninformed conversation. But even veteran bankers have talked about it, written about it. Has the RBI been a little slow when it comes to dealing with bank failures, with impending bank failures? Because we've seen quite a lot happening in the private sector. Everybody thought the private sector was the panacea. Luckily for me, I am vindicated. I have never believed that. But now with so many failures, even recently retired bank chairman wrote a book. He believes that the RBI was a little slow in dealing with the problems of Yes Bank, and we've had several others before that. Is it? Is there a case for saying that bank supervision should be taken out of the central bank, parked elsewhere? Where, for example, the Narasimham committee had said you have a BFS and the only commonality should be the governor between the RBI and the BFS, and then you carve out the BFS. What is your thoughts on this? I hear a lot of noise. To quote Virat Kohli, there's a lot of outside noise. So let's get an informed perspective.
Slightly difficult question, but let me try to articulate this in the way. Now, I think to start from the last point which you said, are we going to solve this problem, or would we have been better off if supervision had been segregated, taken out of Reserve Bank of India? Then I think things would have happened probably the way we wish it would have happened. I don't think that's entirely going to be true. So because it is ultimately going to be a question of the kind of outlook, the culture, the pressures, the overall situation that one needs to take on board. And then there are several actors that we have to bring together to be able to put a bang under the moratorium and then take the decision. So often it happens that there are different compulsions that come in place, but the question is whether Reserve Bank of India should have acted earlier. So I think in retrospect, I think all of us with the 2020 vision can say that something could have been done better. And if I look back, I also think that there are some of things that which I could have done better. But these are people who have to take decisions at that particular point of time. Now the question is that whether some of the issues could have been handled differently in terms of the regulatory actions that preceded let's say Yes Bank or something else. Probably many of us, even who are career central bankers, would say that maybe yes, there are certain things which we could have done better, we could have been tougher about it. But I think there has to be a balance, because today we are probably going to the other extreme where we are taking very, very stringent actions, which probably now banks have started talking about the operational freedom and issues where there are too many interventions happening. So what I'm trying to put across is this is a difficult balancing game, and an institutional framework, whether it is part of a central bank or a different, is not going to solve the problem. It's all a question of, let's say, a culture. It varies from country to country, the professional approach, and ultimately the people who are there, how best they are able to get a full picture of the whole scenario. I mean, this is where I should say that some of the governance issues that you have been articulating off and on, absolute peaches. I think the kind of the depth and the understanding that you have put across in some of your observations and articles, I think that those kinds of angles of depth, very few people can go into and think about. So it concerns personalities also. I stop. I think beyond this, it becomes a little bit too controversial.
Earlier, there used to be a system where at middle level, central bankers were sent for a couple of years to commercial banks and come back. But my understanding is that was given up some time ago. for whatever
Yeah,
reason.
it was a bit of a fiasco in the sense that ultimately, I don't think the banks are going to give you the positions which are very critical for you to understand the complete nuances of it. So it all depends upon the individuals who wanted to and how enterprising they are in trying to go there and get the kind of seats they wanted where they wanted to understand. It helped up to a particular point of time. But again, Mr. Damodaran, I think being practical, according to me, is again a bit of a culture. While education can add to that, I don't think education alone can make you a complete person. So it depends upon how best you are able to think through, look at the practical side. Am I thinking about a suggestion which is practically impossible to implement? I think these are the issues which become critical. And these are exactly some of the issues which you have also articulated. Maybe time permitting, we could get into some of these issues, but I think the practicality of a regulatory direction also becomes very critical when we are thinking about all these issues.
I think that is very well put, that education by itself is not going to provide the entire range of what you need.